What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's vlog. On my last video I had several questions about just kind of the overall driving experience with the Gladiator. I figured what I would do today is just kind of take it on a little drive, give you guys my driving impressions of this, and then also kind of go through and answer some of the questions that you guys were asking because if one person had the question, I'm sure there's probably many more people that are going to be asking the same question. So I figured I'd just go through and just kind of document my answer to all those. But first, before we get into the main topic of the video, I know the last year and a half has been a little rough. There have been, lockdowns and lots of bad stuff. But I have to say there's one good thing that's come out of that, and that after transferring the plates from my Expedition to this, I'd have to say we finally fixed the DMV. So I don't know how it is where you guys live, but here our DMV is by appointment only for getting your tags transferred to a new vehicle and all that. So the downside was I did have to make an appointment like 3 weeks in advance, but I will gladly take that trade-off because this was the quickest DMV trip I've ever had. I walked in and out, and I was done in like 10 minutes. There was absolutely nobody in there. Best experience I've had. So, alright, so we're going for a ride in the Jeep today. Very glad to have you guys along for the ride. So if you didn't catch my last video, I've had this Jeep Gladiator Mojave for just a little over a month, right about 1,000 miles in the odometer. I did more of kind of like an ownership review and just kind of my overall thoughts about the vehicle. Since I got a lot of questions about it, I figured I would do a deeper dive into my thoughts on the driving experience with this Gladiator, and just kind of let you guys know my thoughts about that. So going back to the questions you guys had on the last video, would you recommend this if you did have a commute? If you saw the video, you know I don't commute with this. I'm a software engineer. I work with home, so I'm daily driving it, but I don't have somewhere I have to take it every day. Now my answer to that question is it kind of depends. If you are commuting, if you're doing mostly just kind of a city commute, I would still recommend it. If your if your commute includes a long highway drive where you're going over 70 miles an hour for a long period of time, I would definitely make sure you love it before you bought it. If that's kind of what your commute looks like, and I say that because just every vehicle I feel like has kind of a natural speed where it feels most comfortable at. So for example, my wife's BMW X5, that thing feels right at home, right about 90 miles an hour. And anytime you get on the highway, it just wants to run up to that speed. And that's where it really feels like the sweet spot is for that X5. Now, of course, it's not legal to drive that fast, so you have to kind of keep it in check a little bit. So for this Gladiator Mojave, I'd say the sweet spot is more kind of between 50 and 60 miles per hour. Now, I still feel really comfortable with this on the highway, even up to around 70, 75. That still feels pretty good. Now, if you're in kind of tight traffic on the freeway, and you're trying to go 80 and, pass vehicles and stuff, then it starts to feel just a little bit uncomfortable. And that's a lot of factors. That's the wind noise, the steering can kind of wander a little bit. Another one of the questions I got was about the wandering steering, and that is definitely something you have to adjust to a little bit. For me, it took me 2 or 3 days. Then beyond that, it really hasn't been a big deal. I feel like once you adjust to it, it's one of those things you kind of have to see. You'll either love it or hate it. But it's really one of those things that I feel like with the solid front axle, there's no really getting around that. I know there's steering kits and other things you can do to it, but I don't think you're going to get rid of that completely, just given the engineering behind this vehicle, where it's made to be more able to kind of handle off-road stuff and kind of take a beating as far as the suspension goes. So if you did want to compare this against another off-roader that didn't have the solid front axle like this does, you can look at the Bronco that has an independent front suspension. Just from the kind of the media reviews you see, it sounds like that's a little more comfortable on the highway and things like that. Now, if you go with that and then you try and take it off road, I don't know if it's going to hold up as well, but it's hard to tell one way or the other just because there's not many of them out there just yet. But I would have to say, me, where I'm doing most of my driving just around the city. Like I said, usually going 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, kind of in that range. This is an extremely comfortable vehicle. I think the other thing to take in consideration is just kind of what you're accustomed to. If you're coming from luxury vehicles, getting used to this might be kind of a challenge. So me, I'm a little different. I grew up on a farm. I grew up driving semi trucks and farm trucks and all that stuff. So this, mid-sized truck with this 8-speed automatic transmission makes for a really smooth experience for me. There is a little bit of that steering wander, but now that I've gotten used to it, I don't even really notice it anymore, to be honest. But overall, I would say, this is a truck that you're either going to love how it drives or hate it. So definitely, if you are looking at get one of these, definitely test drive it, and don't just kind of take it around town at kind of those slower speeds. Get it on the freeway and take it out and get it up to, get it up above 70, get it up to 80, and kind of see how it feels to you. Because it's one of those things, if you're doing a lot of driving on the highway at high speeds, and you get this, and you end up being stuck with it, it might be one of those things that you just can't, get over it, no matter how much you like the vehicle. So definitely keep that in mind if you're considering this. Now for me, as I said, I love the feel of this driving around the city, partly because of just how narrow the vehicle it is. The steering, feels pretty precise. Just kind of, shooting around town. I point it where I want it and it goes. No real big issues there. So I mean, for me, this is a great fit, but you really have to, like I said, take into consideration what you're coming from. Now it's quite another thing though if this is like your second or third vehicle, and you don't have to drive this all the time. It's just an option that you want to take out, on the weekends or when you want to have fun. Then this is definitely easy to recommend if you've got another option to fill in the gaps for things that you don't feel comfortable driving this in. So then at least you've got another option just in case you do find situations where you don't feel comfortable driving your Gladiator. So overall, this is not for everybody, but at the same time it's very easy to fall in love with for the right person that kind of understands the trade-offs with what you're getting with this. So now that I've got this, I've even started converting my family over to Jeep. My brother-in-law is planning on getting a Jeep. My wife, we actually had another vehicle ordered for her, and she ended up wanting to cancel that, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what she's getting, but it is a Jeep, and it's on the way, and I'll have it on the channel later. But it's one of those things that once you fall in love with it, you're kind of willing to deal with the trade-offs that kind of come along with it. As I've said before, this is a very unique vehicle. You're not going to find another mid-sized truck on the market that's a convertible, that has also the off-road chops of this, all that combined, and then just the looks of this vehicle and the attention it gets. It combines into a really appealing package. And I'm no car expert by any means. I'm just letting you guys know what I like and what I don't like. But if something like this speaks to you, I would definitely recommend looking into one of these. Alright, well guys, that's going to wrap things up for today's video. As always, appreciate you guys tagging along. If you're watching this to the very end, I really appreciate you guys' support. Just to kind of give you a look forward, of course, lots more Gladiator content coming up. That's not going anywhere. As I've said, I've got a little bit of a trip up to Manhattan, Kansas, and an off-road park coming up next week, so look for some content coming on that. And also, just to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek and a bit of a teaser, I've bought a new car, and it will be here relatively soonish. Don't worry, this is going nowhere. I know you guys love the Jeep. That's not going anywhere. Nothing's going to change with this. But I did buy a new car. It's on the way, and I will be covering it on the channel once it gets here. So once again, guys, thanks again for joining me. Hope you have a great day, and I will catch you in the next video.